I was still getting nervous because a lot of these shows were big theaters. Like there'd be 2,000 people in these theaters. I'm like, I'm still getting nervous, but then I just kind of tell myself like, why am I nervous? These kids are 4 and 5 years old. What are they going to do? They're going to, the beauty of it is they're not going to go on any message boards and talk shit about me. I was like, that was the dream gig. I could do no wrong.
Ow! Hey, sleepyhead, get out of bed!
Up at 5 o'clock to go to work at 9 o'clock. It takes me an hour to stick my hair up.
But why?
Why do I always miss the bus?
I miss the bus. I miss the bus again. I miss the bus. I miss the bus again.
Hey everyone, welcome to 3 Gigs, the podcast that tells the stories of 3 shows that have had a profound effect on a performer's life and career. Their very first show, their worst show, and their best show. I'm your host, Dominic Davey, and today our guest is Mike Park, owner of Asian Man Records, founder of Skankin' Pickle, OG Kubo Station, Kitty Cat Fan Club, and projects like the Bruce Lee Band and the Chinkies.
He's grown toenail puss. Where was Mr. Bus? I miss the bus again. I miss the bus. I miss the bus again.
This episode of 3 Gigs is brought to you by FreshCleanTees.com. It works like a shave club, but they send you t-shirts, super awesome t-shirts. And they have a special offer for all the listeners of 3 Gigs. Save 20% off your first order by going to FreshCleanTees.com and entering the coupon code GIG at checkout. That's FreshCleanTees.com with offer code GIG.
That's which I have not used yet.
Because I always miss the bus. I miss the bus again. I miss the bus. I miss the bus again. Why'd you miss the bus?
I don't know.
Were you up late last night?
I guess so.
And were you watching TV? Bet you watching Three's Company because I love Three's Company.
Mike Park first made a name for himself as vocalist and saxophonist for the legendary San Jose, California ska punk band Skankin' Pickle. They were active from 1989 to 1996 and toured like crazy most of that time. In 1991, Park would form Dill Records to release Skankin' Pickle's albums, but after leaving the band in 1996, he formed the label Asian Man Records to release his own projects, in addition to providing a start to bands like Less Than Jake, Alkaline Trio, the Lawrence Arms, and many, many more. In 1999, he formed the Plea for Peace Foundation to promote ideas of peace through the power of music, and this led to several tours and concerts that raised money for many charitable causes. Now, recently, after 20 years of various music projects like his own solo career and bands like the Chinkies and Bruce Lee Band, he's begun 2 new groups that he's focused on making actual bands, real-life bands as opposed to projects: the indie rock outfit Kitty Cat Fan Club and the acoustic duo he formed with Mara Weaver called OG Kubo Station. I first encountered Mike Park when he was in Skankin' Pickle. His band was a tremendous influence on me and one of the main bands that inspired me to try starting my own. They just had so much fun up there. I wanted to be a part of something like that too. And after I started my first band, Generation Y, which was a female-fronted ska punk band, I sent a demo to Dill Records hoping they would take an interest in us, but knowing that chances were they would never ever reply back. Well, Mike actually did write me back. He sent me a note that we needed more work, which he was right, we totally did, our timing was terrible. But he generally enjoyed the songs and urged me to continue since he felt I was onto something. I was really touched by this note and took it very seriously, and many of my friends who've known me for a long time and witnessed it all feel that Generation Y was my rough draft version of Tsunami Bomb, and honestly, I have to agree. I'm not understating it when I say that Mike has had a lot of influence on me as a musician and over my career, even if he didn't realize that he did. Years later, I would get to know him personally, and I've come to admire the man himself. And he's a fantastic guy, and was kind enough to speak with me about some of his adventures, starting with his very first show ever.
So I think the very first show I ever played was in 1986, the school talent show, and we had started practicing. Just a group of friends. We were playing kind of covers. We were playing like Echo and the Bunnymen. We played like Romantics. Nice. I know we played What I Like About You.
Did the drummer sing?
What else did we play? Just a bunch of covers. No, definitely no originals. And then we would practice. And actually, we were writing some punk stuff too. Mm-hmm. But that kind of progressed later. Anyways, I'm going off topic. So yeah, the first show was a talent show. We played 2 songs, and that was God, what were the songs? It was What I Like About You and some other song. I can't remember. But it was just like, I think I was like a sophomore in high school. It was just like, I remember the feeling of like, wow. It was just like hard to describe because I'd never done it before, and just kind of lying there at night after, when I was home in bed, just kind of staring at the ceiling going, wow, that was fun. I'm not going to sleep tonight. I think that was awesome. Awesome feeling.
It's funny how many people I've talked to have gotten their start at a talent show at their high school, especially since my high school didn't do talent shows at all. And now I'm like, I've developed this like feeling like we need more talent shows. That's where everybody's getting their start. So it's becoming a theme now for some of the episodes that are coming up, where I'm like, hey, if you're listening to this and you can start a talent show at your school, do so. Because that seems to be how everybody is getting their start for the most part.
I had no idea. I didn't know about any, I didn't know how to get shows. I didn't know anything. I was just like, oh, talent show. Let's play.
That's awesome.
I don't even know if we had to audition. It's so long ago. It's like, geez. Anyways, it was fun. Just
That's
innocence of young kids playing music.
Yeah.
I wish I had like a video of it or something, some kind of like audio or visual proof of it.
Right.
But I don't.
So it was 2 songs. It was just 2 songs that you got to play?
It was just 2 songs. I can't remember the second song. I definitely remember I was horrible. I was like the third guitar. We had 3 guitars. And I know I had been playing for like 2 months, self-taught. I think I just downstripped everything. And I think I was probably just blended in with that 3-chord song.
Yeah. What do you remember what you called yourself? What'd you guys call yourselves? Do you remember what it was called?
That band was No Gimmick. That was definitely called No Gimmick.
Nice. That's a very punk rock name.
Yeah, but then I know from that band, we actually the 2 guys who knew how to play guitar left because we were so bad, and the remaining people, we started a band called Psychiatric Disorder, and then we played punk. Then we was just straight up like screaming Black Flag influenced punk with just. I remember I didn't even know how to play guitar, so I was just making noise. And I actually have the cassette tapes of us recording off the boombox.
Oh,
and
wow.
Some of the stuff is really good, and I keep telling myself I'm going to release this stuff. I still need to do it. And I can't even believe, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me because I'm listening to this, and some of the guitar work is insane, in a good way. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I think I was just noodling with no idea what I was noodling, and somehow it worked in parts of the songs.
You stumbled into
fun.
Greatness. That's awesome, though. Did that band play shows? Did you guys play shows as that group?
We did. God, what did we do? Did we do any shows? I can't remember if we did a show as a 4-piece. I don't think so. I think we made stenciled T-shirts, and I think the extent of it. I think after that, I really started getting into ska after that, and
Yeah.
started a ska band called A Shot in the Dark. And then I remember playing, I think we played another, like, it wasn't a town show, or it was maybe like, it's like a battle of the bands. That was what it was.
There you go.
We did a battle of the bands, and we didn't, I know we didn't win, but anyways,
That's awesome.
fun times.
That's awesome. It's cool though to know that the first two songs gave, like, you got the bug, just from those two covers.
Yeah.
At a talent show at your high
Oh,
school. That's all it
sure.
took. You're like, that was awesome. I got to keep doing this. That's cool. Right on.
Yes.
Okay. That's a great sequence. We went from 80s cover bands to Black Flag style punk and all the way into ska. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good beginning. So, that said, what would you say was one of the best shows you've ever played?
Best shows I ever played. So, God, I played so many shows.
You have. I know, that's a tough one.
I did a festival in Busan, Korea, as a beach town in the southern tip of South Korea. And it was a free show put on by the city, so it was probably like 15,000 people on the beach, and this, one of those massive stages with pyro and like a camera, TV camera on a crane.
Oh, wow.
Like super high production. I was like, oh, we didn't know what to expect. I actually used the band MU330 was my backing band.
Oh, okay.
And we haven't practiced that much. I think we practiced twice. I think they flew out to California. We practiced twice and then flew to Korea. And because we didn't practice much, we did like half MU330 songs. I think we learned like 6 Bruce Lee Band songs and then 6 MU330 songs, because it was easier for me to learn their parts than them learning all new songs. And that way we'd be tighter too. Anyways, it was just, none of us who had MU330 or myself, we had never played anything of that magnitude in front of that many people. And we were main support for this big Korean band called Crying Nuts. Mm-hmm. And it was just, and somehow with the very little rehearsal, we just nailed it. We played really well. I remember that, like, in production, they're like, okay, so what's going to happen? The band's going to be on stage and we're going to shoot you up on an elevator. And I'm like, hell no. I want to be on stage with the band as a band together. And then I remember Dan Pottas just looking at me going, dude, just go with it, man. Do it. I'm like, okay. So they just shot me up on this elevator, and I just come out like, and just pyro. Just like, I remember just pyros going off during the songs. I was like, geez, this is crazy. And I remember just finishing and kind of like, we're sitting backstage and Dan Pottas kind of like looking at him, and we're just like, looking at each other, just going, wow. And kind of without saying anything, going, that was the biggest show, or one of the best shows we've ever played, and that'll probably be the biggest show I've ever played in my life. And it still has been. Wow. In my history. I've never played anything bigger than that. And so that was kind of a special feeling. It's like, wow, that was crazy. And then I remember afterwards, like some organizers took us out to dinner, and just the show, we didn't know the show was on TV, and then they were like, they're like repeating the concert on TV, and we're watching ourselves on national TV and on a repeat, but still we're like, that's crazy. What's going on?
That's amazing.
Eating Korean food. Yeah, it was super exciting. And then that was pretty amazing. And then I have to talk about my time doing. I did a tour with Yo Gabba Gabba, children's show on Nickelodeon. A 3-month tour. I was a super music friend. on this tour. It was the most surreal tour I'd ever been on.
Really?
I mean, you've toured. You know how low budget touring is.
Yeah.
I've never been. None of my bands have ever had tour buses. It's always just a van and a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yo Gabba Gabba was plush. I was on the Stars bus with Biz Markie, DJ Lance Rock. It was ridiculous. I had my own dressing room every day.
That's amazing.
So my dressing room usually consisted of like a large flat screen TV, and even on the first day I walked in my dressing room and I've got catering for me, and I'm like, why? Because the whole tour had catering, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So I'm like, why do they have catering? So I went to the road manager and told him, I'm like, don't waste your money. I don't need all this stuff. I mean, he was puzzled because it's usually artists like demanding more stuff.
Right.
And here I was going, I don't need this stuff. Cut it out so you guys can save some money. He's like, okay. And then the tour starts and I'm realizing they're getting me my own hotel room every night too. And I went back to him going, I don't need a hotel room. I'm on a tour bus. My dressing room, I have showers in my dressing room. Save some money. And again, he was just blown away. He's like, okay. saving the company money. I was just like, I just didn't understand. First of all, I just didn't want to get off the bus. I was already asleep. They'd wake me up like at 4 a.m, like, hey, we're at the hotel. I'm like, let me sleep, man.
I'm already sleeping.
But the kicker is, I only played one song. My set was one song.
Are you serious?
That was it.
Are you serious?
I played one song.
That's
yes.
amazing.
So the whole show running time was 58 minutes, and then with a 15-minute intermission, so around an hour, 15-minute show. At the 12-minute mark was my part of the show. I did one song.
Wow.
And that was it. I was done. I by far had the easiest job. Me and Biz Markie had the easiest job. He had the same thing. He had like a 6-minute bit in the show, and that was it. But yeah, it was ridiculous. And I got to play all these beautiful theaters, like all the Fox theaters of like St. Louis and Atlanta and Detroit. There's like these theaters that the walls are just covered with musicals like Annie or Book of Mormon, and the whole cast would sign it. So those kind of theaters. And I remember I would just start signing my name on all these musicals. I don't know why. I was just so bored. I only played one song. I was just trying to kill time.
It is amazing that the most luxurious tour that you have ever been on, you played one song every night. That's amazing. That's so
great.
Awesome.
One song in it, and I still get I was still getting nervous because a lot of these shows were big theaters. Like there'd be 2,000 people in these theaters. I'm like, I'm still getting nervous, but then I just kind of tell myself like, why am I nervous? These kids are 4 and 5 years old. What are they going to do? They're going to. The beauty of it is they're not going to go on any message boards and talk shit about me. I'm like, that was the dream gig. I could do no wrong.
That is so awesome. Wow. I mean, it still blows me away how big Yo Gabba Gabba got, or is, I guess, still going, doesn't it? It's still going.
Well, there hasn't been a new season in a while, and the live tour hasn't happened in a few years either. Mm-hmm. I'm still crossing my fingers that another live tour happens, and I get the call to go on the tour again.
Yeah, I bet. That's a sweet deal. I have to admit,
I'm hoping.
It was like I too, most like 98% of my touring life has been in vans, various quality. But on the Warped Tour, and then when we were in Europe with the Vandals, we got buses. And I have to say, it
makes a difference.
It truly makes a difference. I too was like, we don't need hotel rooms. We have this. Like, why pay for that? Like, because we were still gonna have to pay for that. I was like, no, let's stay on the bus. This is awesome. And all the venues had showers, like you said. All the venues had showers. I was like, what do we need? We don't need anything else. This is great. Save the money.
Exactly. But take that, even that the luxury of a rock tour. Let's say a band. Who can we say? I'm trying to think of a band of the size of who would do a tour bus, but like a band that plays Slims and on the tour bus. Let's say like RX Bandit. Let's use RX Bandit as an example. They probably do like 600 to 1,000 people a night.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that's pretty luxurious. Yo Gabba Gabba made those tours look like the hardest van tour ever. This tour was insane. I can't even describe it. Full catering.
That's
breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I was eating, like, the cooks, they would make stuff for me, like, if I said, like, oh, you know, I was trying to, like, eat gluten-free. I was eating vegan, gluten-free, and no sugar on that tour. And a lot of the chefs at these different locations, they would make something special for me. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. Yeah, I thought Warped Tour was the best. What was it?
Yeah, the other funny thing about that tour was because I did nothing, I would just explore these beautiful theaters. I would just I'd be backstage, like going up these, you know, I didn't care if I got in trouble because I was like, what? I'm working. So I was like just exploring and finding these little nooks and crannies of these old theaters and hearing ghost stories from staff, and I don't know, it was awesome.
No, that's amazing. It's funny how much those like old theaters, like, because I grew up out of playing and performing out of the Phoenix Theater, and that place, you know, it's haunted. It has like an extensive history. It's just an amazing place. Like, definitely touring around, like most of the time it's like a weird, you know, weird venues, like punk rock venues come and go wherever they are. Sometimes they're bars, sometimes they're community centers, but I've definitely developed a love of really old, cool theaters. I think they're amazing places. I don't know, there's something about them. So I would have probably done the same exact thing. I would have explored each and every one of them had I had an opportunity to play so many places like that.
Yeah, it was special, and yeah, I can't even, hard to describe it. The only tough part of that was just being away from my family, and my two kids at the time were like 4 and 6 years old, so that was kind of tough.
I imagine, because every night
so long.
Yeah, and every night you're looking out at a bunch of 4 and 6 year old kids. Like, I imagine that would be like get you right in the feels a little bit, like after a while.
Yeah, the only saving grace is doing FaceTime. You know, the technology, having FaceTime is pretty incredible. I'm just thinking back of touring in the 90s, and you know, phones didn't exist, and just the misery of those long drives. I couldn't even read in the van; it would make me sick. So I would just sit there. You know, what would you say an average drive is on tour? Five and a half hours?
5.5
on
hours,
average,
for sure. Yeah,
5.5 hours of doing nothing. There's only so much music you can listen to. Usually, if you're driving, you've got control of the tunes.
Totally, that's something nobody knows. That's something nobody knows.
So
that
if I'm
isn't
not
a
drawing,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, you know, that's something actually to mention real quick, not to segue this too much before we get to the last question. But you know, that's something that I've noticed being from the early days of Tsunami Bomb touring to the touring that happens that I do now, and the tours that I was doing towards the end, and how I see tours now is how much has changed. I mean, you really put in time. Like Skankin' Pickle you guys were like on the road nonstop in a time, like you just said, there was no internet, there were no phones. It was calling. You'd probably got calling cards, right? Like you'd stock up on calling cards for payphones.
We had calling cards. We also had there's a lot of scam devices. So we had this, I don't know if there's a word for it, but it made a sound of a coin. So you put up the receiver and you'd click it, and it would make a sound like a coin dropping, and it would put credit on the payphones. It was
oh my
the most
God.
Incredible. So we did all our calling that way. We also had some stolen calling cards, I remember, that would work for a while, and then it would get caught. I mean, someone would catch on, and it wouldn't work anymore. But Yeah, that God, there was a name for it. Someone I remember it was like a Maximum Rock and Roll. It was in one of the classifieds, and someone told me about it. I'm like, yeah, get this, and I did, and it totally worked.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
I heard about those devices, but I never saw them, and it's so funny because like when I started touring, it was still like that. Like cell phones were way huge, not practical. Nobody had them, and our first tours we used calling cards. But it's crazy how much that's changed. It's like so 180 difference than now. Like you said, FaceTiming home. It's like that's amazing.
Yeah, just being able to like do work from the road too, by being able to promote your show while you're driving. If I had that back then, I could have just done so much more than twiddling my thumbs and just praying that the drive will be done soon.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that don't tour. Like I said, like they don't realize, the little things that happen with every band, like how often you're not doing anything and like how the driver has control of the music. So God help you if that one member gets control and just listens to the same band over the same album over and over again because that's all they want to hear. It's like you don't have anything. The early days when we didn't have smartphones, so there was like you were doing, or laptops, you were doing nothing, and you try to read and you'd get sick, and I don't know. I think back to the earliest tours and I'm like, man, it is so crazy different, especially now that we can like afford. We get flown out, like we fly out to play shows. I'm like, that's just, I'm like, that's crazy. We never could have done this in the old days. Like we'd never fly anywhere. That's amazing. We fly out and rent a van and go play shows. Like to me, even that is bizarre. So it's pretty crazy.
Another thing was like thinking about driving. It's like I don't drink or smoke weed or do drugs, and the other members they'd have such a good time because they'd get so high and just listen to music. And I kind of envied it. I was like, oh man, they're just really enjoying music and getting high. And I was like, oh, I should get high.
I like that's what almost broke you, is you're just like the sheer hours ticking by sitting there.
Oh, totally. I almost broke. I remember just one of the members just doing speed. He's like, dude, you should do it. It's amazing. Like the drive is great. I'm like, maybe I should. I'm so tired. I'm losing it.
I had one.
I didn't.
I had one interaction with that where, do you remember the trucker speed? That it was like legal for like 10 minutes. It was these like weird.
No.
There's these weird pills, and I was in a band no one's ever heard of, but we were just touring and we had to drive all the way back, and I was just like, I was telling like one of the singers, I was like, oh, I'm so tired, and I'm supposed to drive for a shift, and she's like, well, have you heard of trucker speed? And I forget what it's actually called, but she's like, she hands me like
no-dos or something.
Not no-dos, but it was something far more than that. It's no longer legal, but she like drops like 5 pills in my hand, and she's like, this will help. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if this will help, because I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I literally just pop them all, and I drink some water, and she's like, and then I look over at her, and she's looking at me with this horrified look in her face. And I'm like, Jen, what's wrong? And she's like, that was for everybody. And I was like, what? And she goes, those were for everyone. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, you were supposed to just take one. And like, I never did anything. I never smoked pot, or I never did any drugs or anything. But like, I was like, oh, is this like a legal thing? And so she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take something. I need something. I'm exhausted. And then I popped all 5, and she like was horrified. And I was like, well, what's going to happen? And she goes, I don't know. And Mike, I swear to God, I could feel my hair growing. I drove. I took the first shift that was supposed to be a 2-hour shift. I drove all night, nonstop.
Yes.
I just like, I got us all the way until the sun came up, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Hey guys!" And they were just starting to wake up. I was like, "I'm gonna need someone to take over," and I like pulled over and just like collapsed, and I was out, and I could taste like this aluminum taste in my mouth. It was all I never idly like popped anything again that anyone offered or anything. That was it. Like I never broke again, but that was the time I broke and I said, all right, I'll take this stuff. And they later made it illegal.
Was it Guarana?
That doesn't sound familiar. No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
maybe. But I know they called it trucker speed, and it just...
Okay.
I took 5 of them, and I was up all night, and then I crashed, and I slept all the way in time until it was sound check time for the next show. I was out.
Oh, God. Those drives are the worst.
Yeah, no.
The drive from, like, let's say, being from the West Coast, we would do Reno. I think we would go to Reno, and then we would leave after the show, go to Salt Lake City, because it would be like a 9.5-hour drive.
Yep.
Then play Salt Lake City, leave after the show, go straight to Denver.
Yes. Oh, God. Through
Because
Wyoming.
there's like 10-hour drive. No, then we would go Denver to Kansas City. Another like 9 to 10-hour drive. So we'd go 3 nights in a row, no sleep, just because there's nothing out. You got to make it to the East Coast. You're just like, that was the route. It was always Reno, Salt Lake, Denver, Kansas City. And it's like, so many bands should be dead. It's so dangerous.
No, it was so brutal.
Ridiculous.
That's a brutal run. Those were brutal runs. Oh my God. Yeah. No, you're right. I remember those so well. All of a sudden, like, it was just this brutal Midwest run. It was awful.
Oh, I hate it. And the thing is, I don't miss that at all. I hate driving. The thought of being in a van, soul crushing. Soul crushing. I hate it. I love the tour bus. I'm down. Put me in the tour bus, no problem.
No problem.
It's got Wi-Fi. You got satellite TV, kitchen, bathroom. I can just go in my bunk, go to sleep.
Yeah, no, they're pretty amazing.
But the van, I don't think I could ever do a van tour again.
I will go so far as to say this, and this is totally a true story. I have told people that if I go to hell, my hell will be constantly waking up on the way to a show in a van, hearing some horrible grinding noise from the van and breaking down in the middle of nowhere, because that's happened to me so many times. And I was like,
you have no idea. I have so many stories of breaking down. I bet I don't want this podcast to go on forever.
Fair enough. But yeah, I definitely
thousands
feel
of
you.
dollars lost.
Yeah. Oh, so many. Like waking up to a grinding noise and finding out like, what is that? I don't know. It started a while ago. We were trying to make it to like the next big city. I was like, pull over. It sounds like something's starting. Turns out a differential is just gone. So stuff like that, transmissions, everything. Fun. Okay. Well, that hellish scenario covered. This is always a tough one. I know, but what would be one of the worst shows you've ever played?
There's a lot of those too. I think a lot of it was when at the end of Skank and Pickle, at the height of ska, I just didn't care anymore. So
Really?
we'd play these sold out shows everywhere. So it would be like, 600 to 1,000 people. And I remember like thinking, I think we were playing a show in like Denver. It was like the Gothic Theater sold out, 1,000 people. I'm like, we could just be playing noise right now. They just want to mosh. I remember just not caring. That's when it was like the end for me. 96. Right. I was like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a representation of the show or the crowd. It was just me and my state of mind at that time. I hit the wall. I was like, I can't. We were touring. I think we averaged 200 shows a year from like 91 to 96. And so.
Oh yeah, you guys were nonstop.
Nonstop, and it was fun at first, but then it wasn't fun at the end. At least for me, I was done. I was done. So I remember those shows, like just not caring. Like I was being mean to kids. They'd like try to talk to me. I'm like, oh. We had no roadies too, so we were packing up everything ourselves. So I was like, I just want to pack up and get the hell out of here. And so it felt bad just being a jerk to kids. And those shows sucked. And then When I started playing solo and started touring, in my mind, I hate to say this, but I felt like I deserved more. I was kind of had this like elitist idea in my mind. I was like, I paid my dues. I should be, when I play solo, I want complete silence. I don't want anyone to talk. And so I remember being in England. I was in Southampton, England. I was playing a show, and if anyone talked, I would just stop, and I'd tell them to stop. I'd tell them to be quiet or leave. And it's just like, I just like ruining it for me, because it's like, what's my problem? I should just be able to like go, I should just play. Who cares? But I was just, the state of mind I was in, I was like, I want people to be quiet. I want them to be listening to every note I play and every word I sing. Mm-hmm. And so, I would just tell them. I'd say, you need to be quiet, or you need to leave. And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Oh, I was trying to do a British accent. It failed very bad. Sorry.
I know where you're going with it, though. I can tell.
But yeah.
So a lot of it had to do with your state of mind.
Yeah.
At the time.
Exactly.
That's
and
really.
So I think that was the tail end of it, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I give up. I think that was like 2004. That's when I tried to do that solo. I put out 2 solo records, and I thought in my mind, at least, I'm like, I can do this. I did it before with Skank and Pickle, and then I'll do it again. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, people want me to play ska. But I'm not playing ska, I realized. I think when I first came out with the solo stuff, and I first went on tour, it actually did well, because I think people were curious. And then it got worse every time I came back. The draws are smaller, and I was like, that's not good. It's like, that means nobody cares. So that ended. It was like a couple years trying. I was like, forget it. I give up. So
yeah, it's interesting.
Still the shows are fun. It just, again, state of mind.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's like it's unfortunate how that works, is that sometimes crowds don't let you evolve past what they want and know you for. Like, that's it. But I mean, you logged in so much time, and Skank and Pickle, like, that was it. They wanted to hear ska, and it's like, it can be kind of brutal. It's like they can sometimes go with you and evolve with you, but sometimes they're a bit resistant. So I understand, but I'm glad you're
fine.
playing.
I love ska. I still do ska when I have a chance. Usually I go overseas because it's a free trip. But like this year, Bruce Lee Band, we're doing some shows in November.
Oh, great!
We're going to Korea and Japan and Hawaii.
Oh, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
So I'll do the ska in November. The problem with playing ska, it's not easy. You need a lot of people. There's a lot of members you need to put together.
True.
And if you don't, and you can't just get some, like, a guy can be a good musician and just doesn't know how to play ska. I've played with great drummers who had no ska feel. And if you don't know ska, if you don't have a feel for ska, you can't play it. Mm-hmm. If you try to like let's say like a great metal guitarist, or let's say like Kirk Hammett from Metallica, I bet he couldn't play ska. I mean, I'm sure he could, like, theoretically, but the feel would be horrible.
Right.
There'd be no groove. It would just be like, so, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's insane.
Well,
maybe he's like,
but who knows what his secret ability and secret connection to ska is. But I will say that I agree with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, ska was the first bands that I played. The first bands I played in were ska bands, and before I played punk. But yeah, I agree. You either have a feel for it or you do not, and that's that.
Yeah. So when I do Bruce Lee Band, I have to get people that know how to play it. So I'm flying out people from all over the U.S. and it's expensive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd do it more.
You just, it's tough having standards, man. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
Well, I'm glad you're still playing, and I'm glad you got stuff coming up, and these 2 projects sound really good. I hope they graduate to full-on bands, because I've been a fan of everything I've heard you do, I've loved. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had a band, because it was watching Skankin' Pickle that made me want to do it. And then later discover all the things that bugged you about it. They bugged me too, but I got to do it because of watching you perform. So thank you for that.
Hey, that's cool. Thanks. It's cool to hear that.
No, and it's really true. If there was no Skankin' Pickle, I never would have done Tsunami Bomb. I would have never done any of the bands I was in. So, thank you.
Ah, you're welcome.
I left this town in Arkansas to a place where I could dream, where your love could be loved and you never would see all the hatred in between. There was a kind old woman, she told me I could stay, the room I would share with the dog and the cat and a stranger on their way. This world breaks your heart and makes you gray. This world breaks your heart and makes you gray.
You've been listening to Mike Park, formerly of Skankin' Pickle, currently of Kitty Cat Fan Club and OG Kubo Station, occasionally of the Chinkies and the Bruce Lee Band. Sometimes he plays as Mike Park, but he's always the owner of Asian Man Records. He has a website called MikeParkMusic.com, and many of the bands have their own sites, but honestly, the best place to find out more about his work would be at AsianManRecords.com. Start there. Work outward. It's worth it. I promise. Thank you so much for tuning in to 3 Gigs. Feel free to check out our website at 3gigspodcast.com to find extras and live footage of all of our guests, including some live footage of a few of Mike's bands. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram just by searching 3 Gigs Podcast. I hope you will. And you can let us know what you think of the show and who you would like to see as a guest in the future now that we're back. If you're enjoying the show and would like to do me a solid, please head over to our iTunes page and give us a quick rating and review. iTunes uses the amount of rating and reviews to determine the reach of the show, so the more we have, the more people find us. So any positive review and rating would be very much appreciated. Our theme music today is an old favorite of mine, I Missed the Bus by Skankin' Pickle off of the Skankin' Pickle Fever on Dill Records, followed by When You Talk About Love by the Kitty Cat Fan Club from their self-titled debut 7-inch on Asian Man Records. And our closing song is This World Breaks Your Heart and Makes You Gray by OG Kubo Station from their self-titled debut album, also on Asian Man Records. Thank you so much for listening. It's good to be back at it. My name is Dominic Davey. This has been 3 Gigs, and we'll see you next time. If you listen to this podcast, chances are you like music, and if you like music, you probably wear a lot of t-shirts, or at the very least know someone who does. Well, why not get brand new, blank, fresh, clean t-shirts sent directly to you? Well, you can. FreshCleanTees.com works like a shave club, but instead of razors, they send you super soft, affordable t-shirts. And getting it all going is easy. You choose between monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly delivery options, answer a few questions about your favorite styles, your size, and what colors you like, and you're good to go. Fresh Clean Tees likes 3 Gigs so much, they have a special offer for all of our listeners. You can head over to FreshCleanTees.com right now and use promo code GIG for 20% off your very first order. That's promo code GIG at checkout and get 20% off your first order. Now, I love the t-shirts they sent me, and I know you'll love yours. So head over to FreshCleanTees.com right now and use order code GIG while you can.